Hello everyone, Erin here. Today is a very special video because we are celebrating my very good friend Jayma Malme. She has reached 20,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so we are celebrating by scrap lifting her. The hardest part was deciding which layout of Jayma's I wanted to scrap lift because there's so many amazing choices. So this particular layout was on my to scrap lift list anyway, so I thought this is perfect. And it was really tempting because you'll notice I'm in several of the photos and I thought I could really make this assignment easy on myself and do the exact same Mexico layout or Mexico photos that Jayma has done. But I decided to work on a trip we took to Ireland and Scotland. So I am using the same paper as Jayma. I'm doing a little stash busting because you guys, I kind of went crazy and bought a ton of this paper. But stay tuned because I have some suggestions for a paper pack that is available that would also work very well with this particular layout. So I have photos. As I mentioned, we were flying to Scotland. Actually, we landed in Dublin. So here we are. This is on the back of the screen. You know how they have some of the bigger airplanes have the little built-in screen, and you can watch the flight path. So we were flying from San Francisco to Dublin. We landed in Dublin and then actually took a second plane over to Scotland. So it was a very long day of travel. This is when we first got on the plane and we're leaving San Francisco, and then of course the flight path, and then we landed and had to take this shuttle bus thing over to a smaller airplane. So just lots of fun shots. We were so excited. We were exhausted. Like I said, look at these yahoos. That's my husband and son doing a push-up challenge in the airport during the layover, just trying to expend some energy. And then my friends Bonnie and her husband Traeger getting onto the plane. So I do have a few more photos than Jayma does on hers. I'll show you how I'm going to incorporate those. But let's scoot this out of the way. For those of you that may have this in your stash, this is Let's Go Anywhere. It was a travel set right before Close to My Heart closed their doors. And like I said, I bought a ton of this. I bought like 3 paper packs plus the bulk paper. So I have made quite a few layouts, but I have quite a few more to go. This layout is going to come together so quickly. Jayma did such a fabulous job. I'm going to follow it along pretty closely. So this is Toffee. I am going with some Close to My Heart cardstock here because it coordinates beautifully. Now, Jayma does have a YouTube video for hers, so I will leave that listed in the description box below, so you can check that out as well. I did watch it again right before creating this layout, just to look for more tips and inspiration. So these particular pieces here with the passport paper are 5.5 by 12. And then this one I'm using, this is actually basic white from Stampin' Up, and it is 6 by 11. So we want a little border around the outside edge, so we have that 1/2 inch border, and then we are going to do some stamping on this just like Jayma did. We're going to add some background interest. I'm going to use the same stamps from my stash that Jayma used. So basically what it is a tiny little airplane with dotted, like the airplane contrail. And this one says, Let's Go Anywhere. And then this one just goes in the shape of a heart. So I'm using Toffee ink that does match, but I wanted to give you some alternative ideas how you can recreate this look. So I know it's a lot of stamp sets, but you may have these in your stash. There's a tiny little geotag there, which would work really well. Here is a super cute dotted little trail, and you can even do this with a journaling pen, create this part. So this is on the Meant to Be. It's like a little bee trail. So you could do that. You could put the little geotag, and then the Everyday Arches, if you happen to have this in your stash, has 2 really great little airplanes. So I just wanted to share those with you. And then some alternative inks would be pecan pie or crumb cake. I do get asked how I always remember what's on my stamp sets, and I do store them by theme. So actually let's start with this one because it's bigger. When you're creating a random stamped pattern on your background, you always want to start with the largest image and then work your way down to the smaller ones, so it's easier to fill in this space. But I store my stamps in Evernote, which is a digital method of storing. It's an app, and they unfortunately changed their It used to be free. You could use it for free. However, they've changed that and it is kind of expensive. So there's, just using an app on your iPhone. The Notes app works well, but you use keywords like airplane. And that way I would search my stamps under, just search airplane, and anything where I've tagged it with the word airplane would pop up. And that's how I organized by theme. So, stamps like these are in my travel category. So all I have to do is go to that one category and flip through, and I can find what I'm looking for. So we are going to go ahead and create a random stamp background. I'm going to grab some scratch paper. The scratch paper is so I can stamp off the edge. Whenever you're creating like a random stamp pattern, you want to stamp off the edge typically because it looks more like pattern paper. So let's grab this one and mount it to a block also. And I haven't used these stamps in a while, so it's always a good idea to practice first. We'll just stamp those onto that scratch paper there, and then we'll just start filling in our background. Now, I do know, because I'm, scraplifting Jayma, that my photo is going to be covering a large portion of the center of this. So I'm making sure to get what I want visible around the edge here. So again, just kind of random stamping, going off the background. I'm rotating the stamp each time so that it looks very natural and we don't have the plane in the exact same spot going around each way. So this is just a fun process. You really can't mess it up. And if you don't like it, flip the paper over and try again on the opposite side. So let's just add a few more of these, and then you can see I've switched to the second stamp set, which is a little bit smaller, and we're just filling in those spaces. To finish this off, I have the same Toffee ink, and I'm going to go all the way around the edge, just adding a little bit of ink blending. I won't make you watch the entire process. I will go ahead and repeat the stamping and the ink blending over on the right-hand side. I got all of my pattern papers inked up. We stamped the other side and they are adhered down. Now I wanted to show you, this is the Take to the Sky collection, and I actually bought this right away a year ago when I signed up, and I have not really cut into it yet because I've been saving it for this album, and here I am using a different paper collection. How funny is that? But this one is so fantastic for travel. I actually did create a hiking layout with this paper. It is currently low quantity, and the coordinating stamp set is in the last chance section. So I just want to show you how good this would look. Imagine this paper instead of this if you don't have these stamps and you wanted to document air travel. This would make a fantastic background. And look at these maps. They're absolutely stunning. But then you get all of these airplane papers too. So you could do something like this. Instead of the passports, we've got this one and then this one here. Or really you could just do like this. Reminds me of a topography map, and this would be really fantastic for air travel. I love the masculine colors. The cloud paper would be really cool. Actually, that's what I would do. I would do the cloud paper and then this one and document some of those, if you have pictures out the window. I always sit on the aisle because I want to be able to get up, but then I'm always sad I don't get those neat window pictures when you're taking off with the wing and the clouds. But that would look really great if you want to use this to recreate this layout for your travel photos. And then this is a cut apart sheet, so you get this on one side, but the other side you can cut apart these tags and have all of these fun embellishing options as well. So I wanted to bring in the Close to My Heart 2024 catalog because Jayma actually used this for her inspiration, and she turned it into a double page layout. And fun fact, and she shared this in her video, but that is Jayma and her husband Chris right there on the cover of the catalog. So that was really exciting. But you can see these angled pieces here. I am going to create those, and I went back and watched Jayma's video to get the measurement. So the larger square is 6 by 6 and the smaller square is 5 by 5. So we're going to cut this on an angle. So just put the two corners in the gutter of your paper trimmer there. And whenever you're cutting into a corner like that, I always recommend you start in the center and cut down and then go up, because you'll catch those corners and get, it'll make it all jagged, and you don't want that. So just remember to start in the center there. And then you get these nice clean cuts. So these are going to sit on either side. So I think I'll just kind of split the difference there and use those measurements on my Versamat to center that. And then we'll layer this one so you get these cool leading lines. Angles are always really great. Angles, arrows, triangles to kind of direct your eye to the center of the layout in this instance. So those will sit just like that, and I love it. I'm going to use the same photo placement as Jayma did. So this is the very first photo, so I want it to be kind of the progression. And then of course we're just taking off, so Jayma's is a little bit different. This was a 9x16, so I couldn't make it a true 3x4 without cutting off important details. And then this is the second leg of the journey where we got on our second flight there. So actually we're boarding that plane, so we'll put this one here. And then this one will sit here. And then I've got, Jayma has one 3x4 photo there. I am going to use flip flaps to incorporate all these. I just really want to include the push-up battle because it's funny. And if you stay tuned, you'll notice some other push-up battles in the most random places during our Scotland and Ireland adventures here. So quite funny, and definitely want to document that in the memory book. So I think I'll put this one on top there. And it's going to sit a little bit, well, something like that. I think she has hers overlapped, but we'll fine tune it when we get there. But that's going to be our photo placement. And then I even have the same stickers as her. So this is just going to come together so quickly. So she's got like one title or a subtitle there. And then this one here, which becomes part of a bigger embellishment cluster there. I did cut some extra large photo mats for these two in the center, just like Jayma's layout did. Now these are printed with a white border. So we already have that white mat around the edge there. And then I'm using, this is the same paper that we cut the angles from. So I wanted to mention, I'm sure a lot of you do not have this paper collection or sticker, so just keeping with how you can recreate the look, just grab yourself cardstock, cut yourself a little square around the corners, and then you can use die cuts or even stamps. Die cuts might be easier. This is the mini alphabet die, so you could cut out the word adventure and stack it just like that. Use a little airplane embellishment and recreate the look and have your own adventure title. Jayma introduced the color red, and I quite like the way that looked. Now we have red in the passport paper, so it's very easy to bring that in even though it's not in the photos. So just a small border of that red, and you can see what a big impact that makes. And I'm just doing the photos on the outer edge here. As part of this collection, it came with a ton of travel-themed paperboard shapes, and I also have lots of stickers. So I have Jayma's layout off to the left of my desk, and I'm just following it along, and I'm having a grand old time. This layout's coming together so quickly. I am loving the way it's turning out, and I'm not even really second guessing it because, like I said, Jayma did a fantastic job. She's such a talented scrapbooker, and fun fact, Jayma is actually the mastermind behind the creative design team. She is the one that first kind of got us all together. We started years ago collaborating on YouTube and then kind of grew from there. I'm so incredibly grateful that Jayma decided to follow through and reach out to all of us because we've become really close friends. In fact, we get together every year, which is awesome because Janice is coming all the way over from Australia. We've got Chelsea and Julie in Canada, and then the rest of us are in the United States. So we got together in Vancouver last year, and then we just got back from a really fun trip in San Diego. So I knew I had a globe stamped in here, and perfect because Jayma had one down in this lower corner, and I think that's a fun little addition there. Just looking over the sticker sheet to see what else I can add and what else Jayma has added. I'm not quite ready for that. Let's go ahead and ink up the edges of this globe. Whenever you stamp little embellishments like this, it really makes a big impact when you add a little inking. Otherwise, they can look kind of flat, so this gives them a nice dimensional look. I have plenty of embellishments to work with here, but there is a really cute stamp set. It's out right now from Stampin' Up! And it's called Tags to Go. And it's a collection of, there's keys in the die set, and then there are a bunch of luggage tags. So it would be great if you travel a lot like I do. I snatch up any travel themed type embellishments because I can use them over and over and over again. So I am inking up this little suitcase here in Night of Navy. And then Jayma also used this fun globe heart, which is an old stamp set, again, from Close to My Heart. And I am using Cherry Cobbler, which is very similar to Stampin' Up's Scarlet. It's a nice kind of deep brownish red. That'll change and lighten up just a bit as it dries. And she has that heart over here. So we'll just kind of tuck that one in. And then I am, again, just kind of copying Jayma. Let's go ahead and adhere this down. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I noticed she didn't have journaling on her layout. Now maybe she's going to add her journaling later. I'm trying to decide if I wanted that tilted or straight. I think we're going to go with straight because my embellishment cluster is all kind of angled and tilted. So I have kind of a lot to say. So I think I'll put my journaling on the left-hand side under the main photo. I do want to add a few more details here. This sticker says, follow your heart. And then I've got another sticker for up here that says travel together. And then she's got this little tag here that says love this. We'll just kind of hang that off just how she had it. This is so much fun. And I hope that you, when you are watching my videos and see a layout that inspires you, that's what you're doing at home. You're just kind of taking that and scrap lifting it or using it as a jumping off point and recreating it so that you can get your photo scrapbooked and into the album faster than just staring at a blank canvas, right? So we're adding just a few more little pieces over here, using up these smaller stickers. It's a great way to use smaller stickers, cluster them together to make kind of one embellishment. So we've added a little passport, a couple more hearts there, and I think that ought to do it. I'll add a little brad to the top of that blue tag here in a bit. I do have some twine. I'm going to run through this little luggage tag over on the left-hand side. So we'll just loop it through and then pull the tails through here. And I did leave those a little bit long. Now they're kind of wonky. Of course, when you put it in the page protector, it does hold them down. Maybe I can kind of shape that like ribbon. Now they're going every which way. We'll just put them down just like that. I printed out my journaling on Avery clear sticker paper, and I'm a little bit concerned of how it's going to look over that random stamping in the background, but I think it's going to be okay because the toffee's a light enough color. I wrote on Friday, June 7th, 2024, we flew out of San Francisco on a 5:45 p.m. flight bound for Dublin. It was a great flight, smooth sailing all the way through the night. When we landed in Dublin, I immediately noticed a lot more redheads around, and my family joked that we had finally found my people. With a 6-hour layover ahead of us, we fueled up on coffee and kept our spirits high, running on caffeine and pure excitement for the adventure ahead. At one point, Mike and Clayton broke into a random push-up battle in the middle of the airport, trying to expend some of their pent-up energy. We finally boarded a small connecting flight to Edinburgh, Scotland, where we picked up our rental car and headed for Glasgow. Now, I just realized I'm completely out of 3x4 flip-flops, but these will stack. This one's upside down because it'll flip up, and then they'll just sit here and you'll be able to flip that up and see all 3 photos. The background stamping is light enough. It's not interfering with the journaling, so you can easily read that. And I love how that sticker paper looks. And then let me just hold this up so you can see all of the fun details. And that random stamped background really adds so much to this layout. I'm the first to kick off this fun celebration collaboration, so be sure to check back in each day to see what the rest of Jayma's crafty friends have in store, what layouts they chose, and of course the creative take on her projects. You can find those videos right here in the playlist on the right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you soon here on YouTube.